Hi, everybody. We're going to talk this week about the rules of composition and the principles of design, and we're going to put those things all together to create a repeating pattern that's going to go in the background of a bigger image that we're going to create. So, all right, for today is Monday. If you are on Monday's lesson, then you are watching this video right now. This video is going to walk you through the principles of design, and we're going to look at them in an example, and then we're going to collect our images for our pattern. So let's talk first about composition. Composition is the organization of the elements of art. So the elements of art are color, shape, form, line, texture, space, and value. We use these things to put them all together to create an image that looks nice. So our principles of design that we're going to talk about are balance, movement, rhythm, repetition, pattern, unity, variety, emphasis, proportion, and contrast. And we use the elements of art, the principles of design to make a beautiful composition. And there are 7 rules of composition to help us create aesthetically pleasing works of art. So the first rule is the rule of thirds. The rule of thirds says that when an image is divided into thirds, the focal point lands in one of the thirds rather than the center. Your rule of thirds is really important for photography because it drops over your image like a tic-tac-toe board. And what it's basically saying is that if you drop your tic-tac-toe board over your image, then when you look at where the lines intersect, that is where your focal point should be happening. It keeps things out of the center and makes them more visually interesting. So we can see our rule of thirds at play down here in this image because our main focal point hits over here on this side as opposed to right in the center. The second one is called the rule of odds. So it's saying that you should have an odd number of objects in your design to make it more aesthetically pleasing. So if we look here, we have this thing that repeats. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of those. One of them has less lines in it, but there are 5, and 5 is an odd number, so that's the rule of odds. The rule of cropping says that some objects go off the page to make a more interesting look, so we can see that happening over here along the edges. We have the rule of focal point, so it says that your focal point stands out through contrast or simplification, and that you make the focal point different from the rest of the objects, and you keep what's around the focal point really simple. So we see here in this picture down here that the focal point is this, and we know it because of the pink and the yellow that shows up around it. Okay, then we have our rule of overlapping. So it's saying to create a composition that makes sense, we overlap things. So we can see that like these things overlap one another. We have these big flowers, but we have these little ones too, and we have these stems, and they all kind of overlay one another. Rule of 6 is the rule of direction, and it's about how your pieces work together to kind of show you where to look. So what the human eye does first is it zooms in on the focal point, and then it follows the lines in the image to figure out where to go next. So it's saying that you need to have like directional lines. And lastly, the rule of rest, which is about you having some spaces in your pattern that are just plain. It gives your eye a chance to rest and kind of reset. So those 7 elements need to be there in the pattern that we are making. So what we're going to do today is we're going to think about the pattern that we're going to make. And what we're going to do is collect our images. You need to collect a background design. It needs to be something that's like plainish and easily repeatable, so nothing too busy. And then you need to decide what elements you're going to lay onto your pattern. So for mine, I've decided I want to do a flower kind of a pattern. So I collected my images. Let's go here. My background, I wanted to do it iridescent. You figure out how you want yours. And then I know I wanted to collect a bunch of flowers. So these are what I have saved in my folder. For today, we have not started putting them together, but we have all of our images sourced. And I have my background image, that's one, but then I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 other images to lay on top. So you need your background, you need your 7 images. You need to have them saved in a space where you will not lose them. Once you have that done, for today, you are all done. Tomorrow, we're going to work on building our pattern. Then on Wednesday, we're going to work on repeating that pattern. On Thursday, we're going to work on creating a bigger image that's going to go on top of that repeated background. And then on Friday, we finish it up and turn it in. So that's your to-do, is to source your images. You should have a background image and you should have 7 things that you can layer on top of that image to create something really visually beautiful. Okay, so get to work on that. And I think that's it for right now. No, I'm just kidding. That's not it. You might want to make sure, since you have to have those directional lines, you might want to save some lines also before you call yourself done for today. So make sure that before you walk in tomorrow, you've got all of your stuff saved so that it'll be easy for you to create your pattern. All right, that's it.